Hi everyone, this is Dr. Charity again with another video for the Mo Better Life. Today we're going to talk about purple vegetables. I have really been getting into some of these purple vegetables and I want to show you a quick recipe for eggplant. Some people in other parts of the world, they don't call it eggplant, they call it an aubergine. Aubergines. I actually didn't really know that until like this year. I was watching videos, they were saying, oh, when you make aubergines. And I looked it up and they're talking about eggplant. So I think there's only like 2 countries that call this an eggplant. So I'm gonna teach you a recipe on how to prepare eggplant and we're gonna talk about some of the health benefits. So let's get started. So the first step is start with your aromatics. So this is our first purple vegetable for the day, and this is a red onion, rich in antioxidants. Love red onion because it has a lot of sweetness to it and it adds a lot of flavor to your food. I used half of this already, so you only need half of a large onion for this recipe or 1 small onion. So to cut this, I just start off by cutting off the edge. I'm gonna take off the outer coating, the rough outer coating here. Then I'm just gonna try to cut down this large onion so I kind of keep the one end of it so it's easy to cut. So you got 1 bell pepper, you got half of a large onion, and now we're going to cut our eggplant. I usually start off by just cutting the end of it here. Just a little bit of it off. So I'm gonna cube this. So I usually start off by cutting it into strips. All right. So one of the reasons why we see this purple coating on the outside of the eggplant is due to anthocyanins. And the reason why we like foods that have anthocyanins like eggplant and red onion is because it means that the food is very rich in antioxidants. So the importance of antioxidants is to reduce cellular damage. So there are a lot of things that can happen within the body and environmental exposures that can cause your cells to get damaged, and the more cells get damaged, the higher risk you have of cancer. So in order to reduce risk of cancers, we need foods, we need supplements or things that can reduce this oxidative stress, oxidative damage to your cells. And eggplant is actually a powerful food that has quite a bit of antioxidants, so that purple coating adds to that antioxidant. So basically an antioxidant picks up any what we call free radicals that are in the body. Eat purple foods because they potentially can reduce your risk of cancer. They can reduce your inflammation. They're really good for diabetics. When you eat eggplant, you could peel it. The coating is edible, but the coating can be a little thick for some people. I highly recommend when you eat eggplant, keep the coating on it. Keep the purple coating on it for the reason I mentioned and because it's so full of fiber. And that fiber is going to be good for people that have issues with blood sugar control because it reduces the absorption or the speed of absorption of sugar. So it kind of slows down, it reduces these spikes in blood sugars. Eat purple foods. Eat foods that have fiber, eat foods that are purple. It's not going to be a high source of protein, so it's good to try within your day to get your protein from other places. Eggplant, even though it's called an eggplant, doesn't have protein in it. Only reason it's called eggplant is just because it used to be in Europe when eggplant first originated, it used to be white and looked like an egg at its early stages of development, and so somebody in Europe called it eggplant, but now there are other varieties of colors and we really like these purple ones. All right, so we finished cutting our eggplant. We finished cutting our onion and our bell pepper, and we're just gonna cut this tomato really quick. I like adding tomatoes to a lot of different recipes because it just adds a little extra flavor. It's like a flavor enhancer because it has glutamic acid in it, the natural version of MSG, but it just basically boosts the flavor of whatever, which is why a lot of Nigerian food is tomato based and flavorful. And the last thing we need to cut is the mushrooms. All right, cut that out. So in here, I have a combination of shiitake mushrooms. So this is the shiitake mushroom. Gives it a very meaty taste. It also adds a savoriness to the dishes. A lot of people hate mushrooms, but I think it's just because of the way people prepare it. So a lot of times you gotta really let some of that water come out of it so it's not so slimy. So mushrooms are very full of fluid. All right, so let's make our sauce. To begin, let's add some soy sauce. So I've been trying to try a different variety of ingredients nowadays. David Chang owns the restaurant Momofuku. It's actually pretty good than your regular soy sauce, so it's something I've been using lately and I really like it. So you guys should try his soy sauce. So 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, so any soy sauce, or some people, if you don't like to use soy sauce, or if you have a soy allergy, you can use cocoa aminos as well as another option. So 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of gochujang. Probably didn't say that correctly, but you know, I'm doing my best. And then we have some sweetness to it, so adding a sweet chili sauce to kind of add a little bit of sweetness. If you don't have the sweet chili sauce, that's totally fine. You can just add something sweet. So if you want to have sugar or maple syrup or something to kind of add a little bit of sweetness to it and add some dimension. And I like to add a little bit more spice, so you can do that in different ways. I sometimes will use cayenne pepper. If you don't have cayenne pepper, I like this garlic chili sauce. It has garlic and it has a nice taste to it. You can add a tablespoon. The spiciness, I try to like start low, go slow. So I'm just gonna put a little over a teaspoon in there right now. And I add more after I taste it and see if it needs more spice. And now you're going to need 2 tablespoons of water. It's okay if you put a little bit too much water in there. Alrighty, and then now we're just gonna stir this up. The last thing we're gonna add is some mushroom seasoning. So if you don't have mushroom seasoning, you can just use your like broth or whatever. If you have mushroom broth or bouillon, this kind of gives you like a salty savoriness, umami flavor. So you put a tablespoon of that in there, and then you dissolve that in here. All right. So basically this is a combination of soy sauce, sweet chili sauce, spicy sauce, and mushroom seasoning. You can replace a lot of these ingredients for just regular stuff you have. I highly recommend that you get mushroom seasoning. It's quite delicious and really does add a lot of flavor to all kinds of vegetable dishes. So we will have the link for that in the description. But I love, love, love adding mushroom seasoning to recipes. Now we got that nice and mixed together. Let's get to the stove. All right, so we are going to saute this bell pepper and onion. We're gonna also add a tablespoon of garlic after things have started to get going. So if you want to chop your garlic before, I just use the already, pre-chopped, or you can like chop your garlic in a food processor. But we're gonna add a tablespoon of garlic as this already starts getting going. All right, so we're gonna start off by putting our stove to high heat. So crank it up to the highest heat. A lot of times what people do is they actually heat the wok first, then they add their vegetables. It doesn't really make a difference for this situation. So you heat the wok. I add half a cup of water, so that's half a cup. And I saute my vegetables in this half a cup here. So right now, it's gonna start heating that up. And that's why a lot of people like to start off with a hot wok, then add the vegetables. But usually you can do other things while you wait for that to heat. The wok gets hot pretty fast. We have a power burner. Our old stove prior to this took forever to heat. So everybody's stove is gonna be a little bit different, but just crank it up to the highest heat. Depending on what kind of stove you have, this may take about 5 minutes to saute these aromatics, which is mainly your onion. And you're gonna basically saute it until you see the onion become translucent or able to see through it. I like to layer on the flavor as well. So once I see this, starting to get going here, then I add a little bit of seasoning salt and paprika to the onion and the bell pepper. I don't add too much, just a teaspoon. So I add a teaspoon of paprika. So just a teaspoon of that. And then I add a teaspoon of a seasoning salt of your choice. My favorite is actually Joe's Kansas City French fry seasoning. It's pretty good seasoning salt. I put it on everything. It's so good. I like to use it as a type of seasoning salt for all kinds of stuff. Mainly use it when I'm just making air fryer potatoes. But I actually tasted it for the first time when I was in a gift bag when I was visiting Kansas City, and I tasted it. I was like, oh my gosh! And ever since then, I've been using it as a seasoning salt because it's nice and it has all kinds of flavors in it. So like I said, probably about 5 minutes, your red onion starts to get translucent, and that's around the time that I'll add the garlic. You don't want things to burn, right? So as you see water getting absorbed, you may want to add a little bit more water. Total, you may end up adding about a total of 2 cups of water. So you're gonna be adding in half a cup intervals. So when I did this before, it took me about 4 times to kind of keep things from sticking. So right now, as you see, things are starting to dry out. So I add another half cup right now. Like I said, you may need a total of 4 half cups, which is 2 cups.
So do people usually use oil in this situation?
Yeah, people normally use oil, but you don't need it. You can saute vegetables in water and get the same result, same flavor, because it's not the oil that really gives the food the flavor. It's the vegetables themselves and the seasonings that you use. There's so many ways to make food taste delicious without oil. And there's so many natural fats that you can get from vegetables. And a lot of times, as an adult, you don't really need all that extra oil anyways. So we're gonna add a tablespoon of garlic here. I don't add the garlic right away, and the reason for that is because the garlic starts to taste bitter if you burn it. So you wanna make sure that you don't cook it too long and you don't leave it unattended on the stove, like you don't walk away from it, because if garlic burns, it can ruin your whole situation, your whole dish. I got a bitter meal. Definitely make sure you have something in the pot when you're cooking, sauteing garlic with your onions. That's gonna cook. The next thing I add, so as this water is gonna absorb, is I add my mushrooms. So the mushrooms are gonna release water as well. And so I get that in there. And as I mentioned, you gotta layer the flavor. So this is when I add another teaspoon of paprika here. And as the mushrooms get hot, you're gonna start to see a lot of fluid released. And so you keep the heat on high, let that stay hot, because mushrooms need a lot of heat. And mushrooms actually are best cooked actually in water. It's very difficult to actually overcook a mushroom. So it's okay that the heat is hot. So I'm adding that extra teaspoon of paprika, so layering these flavors on. I like paprika, specifically I like smoked paprika because it adds like a smokiness to the food. And it adds, not necessarily spice, but just good flavor without having to add extra salt. But you do need a little extra salt here to make sure those mushrooms are not bland. And so this is when I add a little bit of seasoning salt, or if you don't have seasoning salt, you could just use regular.
So that's the Joe's?
That's the Joe's, Kansas City. Or if you don't have it, just use regular salt. It is really good to, when you're sauteing the mushrooms, to add some seasoning so that you can enhance the flavor, the savoriness of the mushrooms. I hate bland mushrooms. It really can just ruin your whole situation. So layer your flavors as you go. Don't wait to the end. So you're gonna start seeing more fluid come out of the mushrooms. All right, now you start to see the mushrooms sweat a little bit. And if the water starts to absorb a little bit too fast, I may turn the heat down a little bit, but you're gonna see a lot more fluid get released. So let that water come out of that mushroom. Let it sweat. So this is me turning it down to maybe a 6 or 7. So my highest is about a 9, 10, and now I just turned it down to a 6, 7. So you want to kind of medium high heat, and that's just to prevent the water from absorbing too fast. I like to do the mushrooms when there's not too many things in the pot yet, so I wouldn't throw the mushrooms in there with the eggplant and the tomato, whatever, but I will throw the mushrooms in there with like an aromatic and just one bell pepper, because I like the mushroom to be able to get as much contact with the pan as possible, because that helps to release some of the extra fluid from the mushroom and it reduces the sliminess. I like the mushrooms to get as much contact. And at this point, you know, sometimes I'll give it a taste just to kind of get an idea of what my mushrooms are tasting like. That's perfect. Got your paprika, and you got your seasoning salt. That's the only seasonings that we've done so far. The rest of the flavor is coming from the mushrooms themselves, coming from the onion, the red onion, and the bell pepper. So as we see some of this fluid come down, you start to see your mushrooms get smaller in size, because as the fluid comes out of the mushrooms will decrease a bit in size. The next thing you're gonna do is that you're gonna add your aubergines, which is your eggplant. I like saying aubergines. Aubergines. Your aubergines. At this point, I like to still have a little bit of fluid left in there, just a little bit, so that we can steam the aubergines. And then the tomato, we're gonna add both of them together because the tomato is gonna add a lot of extra fluid. So we're adding both at the same time. All right, get all your aubergines. All right, so now you just added a bunch of vegetables. You know you gotta season it because nobody likes a bland vegetable. Let's just get it going. Let's move it around. Let's mix the flavors together. Get it, like I say, we're calling it getting going. We're gonna let that coalesce. We're gonna let that cook. And then we're gonna add our sauce. So basically the next layer of flavoring is really gonna be the sauce. But I like the aubergines to start to release a little bit of fluid. And this is where I may turn up the heat just a little bit. It's starting to slow down because I just added a lot of stuff. But to help get it going, I'm just turning it up a little bit. And I think I'm gonna add just another half cup. I don't want things on the bottom to burn. It's probably fine, but so it's good to make sure the things on the bottom are okay. So if you can see, this is how the bottom looks like. So it's okay to have a little bit. This water is going to cook down, and then the aubergines is going to, or the eggplant is going to release some fluid as well. All right. So you can go ahead and add your flavoring, and you're really going to end up cooking your aubergines, your eggplant.
Aubergine.
You're really going to cook the aubergines for probably a total of maybe 10 to 15 minutes. I would say no more than 15 minutes. You don't want things to get too soft. So I would say lean more to cooking things for about 10 minutes. And you want to taste as you go. All right. The other reason it's good to really cook these things down too is it also gives time for the chilies, the seeds that are in the chilies to soften up as well. A lot of people don't like the seeds, the crunchiness of the seeds. I don't mind them. I like spice, but it allows everything to come together, calm down. The flavors taste very delicious right now, so I don't need to add anything. Now you can eat this in two ways. You could put this with a side of rice, very delicious. Or you could take this and you can add it to some noodles. You know, maybe I'll make some like rice noodles or whatever and have this with it. It's your world. Eat it how you like. But most common way, you can just put it over some rice. And you got a meal right there. Full of antioxidants, full of fiber. All you diabetics out there, get into it. So I eat a very high fiber diet. I really like foods that have a lot of fiber in it. It's good for your gut health, your GI health. Get you going to the bathroom. Get your heart strong. So keep the shell, keep the outer coat on your vegetables if you can. And then basically you just get your rice ready to go for your side, or usually I have the rice going as this is cooking, and you just put it on your side of rice and you have dinner right there. The total cook time, stove time, should be about 15 minutes. So about 5 minutes or so when you're cooking your onion and your bell pepper. Your mushroom is probably going to take a little bit over 5 minutes, so probably seven minutes or so. And then when you're cooking your aubergines, that's 10 minutes. So I would say a total of 17 minutes on the stove. So this is just really quick. I'm just making some jasmine rice. So I'm just going to put 2 cups of rice in. When you make jasmine rice in a rice cooker, it's a 1-to-1 ratio rice to water. So you're doing 2 cups. Actually, you got to wash your rice first anyways. So I usually try to wash my rice really good. Wash the extra starch off of it. I usually just wash it like 3 times. All right, and then you add your 2 cups of I usually actually don't measure when I do this in real life. I just usually want to put enough water to like maybe cover like enough up to the first knuckle. Pop it in your rice cooker. I just turned it on and then I hit the white rice button. So now we are going to plate our meal. So now we have fresh jasmine rice. We have our aubergines. Now we're just gonna go ahead and plate with a little taste test. And I like to have like good vegetable. The vegetable is the star of the show. The aubergines is the star of the show. All right, Vic, come around.
Get some of this.
Get some of this.
What is this called anyway? Rice and what? This is called.
This is called an aubergine stir fry.
Really? Is this what they call or
no?
Eggplant stir fry. What would you call this?
Yeah, we just call it an eggplant stir fry.
Okay.
Eggplant stir fry, eggplant mushroom, because those are the main ingredients. The eggplant is what makes it.
That's really good. The sauce.
You like that?
Yeah, that's really good.
That jasmine rice.
Hot.
The temperature is hot, not the spice.
Mm-hmm.
I only warmed it up for like 30 minutes.
30 seconds, man.
Oh, my bad. I like that.
Yeah, the sauce. The sauce is really good, but it's really healthy. So instead of it being meat, it's in there. The aubergines or the eggplant.
Yeah.
It's in there, and you really have that really savory taste.
Yeah.
It's really good.
What do you think about the texture of the eggplant?
It's soft.
I like
soft,
that.
Yeah.
It's like it's like a pillow.
Yeah.
It's very delicious.
It's really
I
good.
like that. And then the coating, it's not too intrusive.
The what?
The outside of the eggplant, like
the coating, okay.
the casing of it.
And that's the part like it can help you with your health.
Yeah, it has where it has all the antioxidants. So don't peel. A lot of people peel it off, but that actually has a lot of nutrients in there. So keep it on. If you can keep a peel of any vegetable, you should, because that's where the good stuff is.
Maybe viewers out here like, bro, like, can I get something to eat? I make it home.
Yeah. So,
good job, man. Do your thing.
It's good. It's good. Aubergine stir fry, lots of antioxidants. Eat eggplant, eat purple vegetables. All right? That's all we got for you today. So we're going to see you on the next video. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to share. And tell your friends how to eat a more better life, plant-based life. Have a good one. Bye.